This is How To Bob, and today we're going to change the rear brakes on a Honda Shadow 1100 Sabre. Start out, I'm going to get the brand new brake pads and put some brake quiet on them just to keep them from squeaking once we get it all together. So you simply squirt a little bit on there and smear it around on the back side of the brakes. The reason I'm doing this first is so that it gives it a time to dry while I'm taking the brakes apart. Okay, now we can set those off to the side and kind of let them dry. Let's get started on the disassembly. Before we take anything apart though, we're going to go ahead and spread the calipers apart by simply putting the flathead screwdriver in between the pad and the disc and lightly, very gently, just spread the pads apart. Just be careful not to scratch up your disc brakes here. So we're going to kind of just stick it in and lightly pry until they spread all the way apart. That'll make it easier for disassembly. You can see how loose they are now. First thing we're going to remove is the pad pin plug. It's just a simple plug that covers the pad pin. Use a simple flathead screwdriver and unscrew that. Set that off to the side. And then we're going to remove the pad pin. Pad pin just holds the pad in place just like the name says. And to do that, we're going to use a 5mm Allen socket and simply loosen the pad pin until it slides all the way out. Okay, now that we have the pad pin taken out, we're going to go ahead and take the caliper bracket bolt off. And to do that, we use a 12mm socket and just simply loosen it up until it's loose and pull it straight out. Okay, now that we have the caliper bracket bolt out, we can go ahead and pull the brake pads out the back. They simply just slide right out the back. Take both of them out, and you'll notice that the caliper will also rotate around the front caliper bracket bolt. Now you can see here, I'm pointing towards the pocket where the new brakes are going to sit. And before I put the new pads on, I'm going to go ahead and put a little Loctite on the pad pin, and then you can rotate the calipers up and slide the new pads in place. Now that I have the pads in place, I'll go ahead and put the pad pin in by hand. Make sure that it's lined up with the holes on the pads and it goes all the way through. And then simply tighten that up. And now that we got that tight, the next step is to put the caliper bracket bolt on, and I'm going to put a little Loctite on that before I put it in. Go ahead and put it in hand tight. Always want to do it by hand first to make sure that you're not cross-threading it or anything. And then we're going to go ahead and tighten it up with our 12mm socket here. Now that I've got that tight, my next step is to put the pad pin plug in place. Just screw that in again by hand. And once I get that in, you can use the flathead screwdriver to tighten that up. Now the last thing you want to do is pump your brakes and make sure that they are working before you road test it. This is How To Bob. Thanks for watching.